Hassani. I'm the CTO ambassador for Dell Technologies. It's a pleasure to be with you today as we will be talking about the remote work best practices. This webinar is designed to make you think, inspire action, and deliver some best practices around how to make the best of remote working. I trust that everyone agrees that we are living an unprecedented moment in history. COVID-19 has forced measures that are contradicting with our human nature. It has struck us in a way that that changed the way that we socialize, with enforcing social distancing. Many people, unfortunately, have lost their lives, and it has done a huge economic impact for many people. With this concept of social distancing, this is something that we are not used to as human beings. Through all our history, we have been used to the idea of coming together, collaborating together, sharing knowledge, and this is how we evolved through all the history of human beings, from forming tribes through villages in the prehistorical age, towards the new civilization with building cities, building companies, and making sure that we share knowledge and we grow together. Social distancing is something that is not natural for us, and that's why we have come with solutions in terms of technology, with remote working, trying to build those virtual links between different people, different companies, to make sure that we can establish this feeling of coming together, sharing knowledge, and to a big extent, technology has been capable of achieving such a result. We at Dell Technologies, we have started this practice, the remote work or the workforce transformation, 10 years back with this concept of having like 10% of our workforce working remotely, depending on their functions. And most importantly, what we have done, and due to the capabilities and due to the history that we had in this field, that we have been capable of moving 120,000 people in few days from working in office to working remotely, and we have seen a huge surge also in productivity in this perspective. Before we kick off, we want to get your opinion in terms of how, if you have already a sort of an active remote work program. So Miral will send you the poll in in which you can answer, and then we will take it forward. So I think the poll is appearing. You can click on it. Yes, we have started getting answers. Cool. So the answers were 50-50 between no, we didn't have a remote policy, and we supported remote work policy on a case-by-case basis, which is natural in this perspective. Plenty of companies weren't expecting this event to happen, and they were running into this situation where they don't know what to do. So just to give you a perspective about remote work, this event, in fact, hasn't started with COVID-19. In fact, those figures come from 2016, and I took them from different countries around the world. So in Britain, for example, 91% of the firms in 2016 were having at least one employee working remotely. So this is to tell you that this event isn't new. The idea of workforce transformation and remote workplace, however, it has been this COVID-19 crisis has helped as a catalyst for deploying remote work, and making sure that employees can connect remotely. And by default, IT is one of the sectors, as expected, that was the top hiring with 29.2% of the jobs posted. And if you add to it the mobile app development, this will also rise, in fact, by 4.5%. So we have been seeing this this coming, in fact, through the digital transformation, the workforce transformation, and what we are living now is a sort of an acceleration of this event due to the circumstances that have been pushed by COVID-19. So as you have highlighted in the poll, there were a few companies had this policy of remote work, and if they do, it's on a case-by-case scenario. So what we have seen, first of all, is when COVID-19 has hit us, is that plenty of organizations didn't have the technology capabilities to implement a sort of remote work solution. And they started by putting on VPNs, connecting to the main data center, just to make sure that things are working. And then they need to look at security. Plenty of people didn't have this sort of office space dedicated to their environment. They need to start having desks, the communication tools, the collaboration tools, and also the different factors that have been taken into consideration with regulations, policies, and running effective meetings, which in the first few days was just like going into black screen, and then people started implementing this. So if we want to put it into perspective, we had a dream about the remote office. It looks like we're having this sort of home at the beach or looking at our garden, and this is how we want to work, how we want to be productive. However, if we look at the reality, it's much more complex, and I'm sure that that everyone over here has had those funny moments, in fact, where we have one kid jumping into the call, participating in it. Those things seem a bit awkward in the beginning, because from a business perspective, we are used to look at the person from a formal, if I may say, from a formal way. Now people are getting, let's say, this more human touch by letting people into their houses virtually, for sure, having kids and pets maybe participating in the calls. So this is also a good aspect that technology has helped to bridge, because now you have created this virtual social links with others, and this will help, in fact, minimize the threat and the uncertainty that we are currently living. If we want to move on to nowadays that we have normalized, in fact, that we have established this sort of capabilities of working remotely, people are looking at productivity. People are asking, how am I going to measure the productivity of my employees? How am I going to manage those people in the company? So before we jump into the idea of productivity, first let's take a step back and see why employees, first of all, were going to the office. So besides the fact of like starting to doing the normal tasks, the manual tasks, the operational work that every sector or every individual does depending on his sector, there's a very important factor of the office, which is the collaboration, building relationships, being surrounded by co-workers, building your network. So this part is the one that we are missing currently, in fact, which is the social aspect of the things, like going, for example, into lunch break or coffee break with our colleagues, interacting with them, enriching experiences, and getting innovation. So this is why we have this slack, in fact, between remote work and going to office. From a manager perspective, it's easier and more normal to go and see people when they are in the office, to see them working. So we have always this natural bias of like believing that when I don't see the person working, he's sitting relaxing at his house. So we need to start building this idea in our heads that people can work without being able to, without their managers being able to see them. And most importantly over here, managers need to give more trust to their employees, need to give them more support, especially in those tough times that, that people are living. Some people, they have problems when it comes to healthcare. They need to take care of their families, they need to take care of their kids. And we need to have this concept of empathy, of supporting people so they can believe they can achieve their potential. And we don't need to stick to the timelines, to the normal timelines that we used to have, because like nowadays things are more flexible. And if I may say over here, there are two schools when it comes to managing people remotely. So you have this concept of putting, let's say, it's trying to monitor everything that your employee is doing in terms of checking how many hours is he online, putting devices and like maybe software tools that captures how many clicks maybe he has put on his keyboard, and all of the monitoring part around it. However, this concept might be, let's say, effective for a small percentage of the people that you are managing, since at the end of the day, those are the people that you have hired. And unless you have made a huge mistake in hiring those people, you should trust them and you should enable them to achieve their potential. So from our perspective, what we can see as best practices over here can be defined into three categories. So the power of authority. So managers who have authority in the beginning need to transform themselves into coaches. They need to empower their people to make decisions by themselves, and make sure that they have the support services around it to be able to do it. And I'm not talking only here in terms of technology support, in terms of physical support, but also the emotional support around it, and making sure that you always give a positive feedback to the employees. By default, when we used to go to the office and when we used to do good stuff, managers would come to you and they would give you good feedback about it. However, when we are nowadays, in fact, in front of our screens and we have this disconnection, managers tend to call you only when they have problems. So that's why, in fact, sometimes, in fact, you will see a rise in this negative feedback that people are getting. However, managers need to push more, in fact, around the positive feedback. They need to do more check-ins around their employees to make sure that everything is going perfectly. The other important aspect is the social aspect. And if we go back to the Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy and pyramid of needs, if I may say, so you have the physical needs, you have the safety needs, you have the social, and then later on, we are missing this social part heavily. It's not due only to remote work, because remote work is not defined as being locked into the house, which we are seeing in COVID-19. We are lacking the idea of interacting with people, and managers need to enable more of this social interaction using the virtual tools that are capable. Video conferencing, setting up meetings, for example, on a weekly basis, doing more of maybe let's say virtual team building activities in this perspective, facilitating collaboration and pushing more and more, in fact, people to support each other, as we are all suffering, in fact, from this situation and from this pandemic. Also, we need to, as we said, in fact, we need to reskill our force. We need to focus on coaching, guiding, and enabling. We have been in plenty of discussions around reskilling the workforce to be ready to this digital age, encouraging transparency and measurement systems. And here, we need to make sure that the roles that we have defined previously in our organizations, they are going to be flexible. So people will not just commit to the role that he has been doing. His network now is going to expand across different departments across the organization, and managers need to support him on this. And this concept of like of people sitting far from each other from a geographic perspective, we have come up with the idea of the NEAR framework. And when we talk about NEAR framework, this is a framework that managers can use to make sure that that their employees feel near to each other, even virtually. So the N of near stands for normalizing work around objectives, not around processes and times that you spend in front of your screen. So you need to focus more on the outcome perspective. The E is for enabling employees to connect more, and at least we have in recent survey they have done that plenty of entities of research, Gartner, IDC, and other they have conducted. They have seen that at least 40% are feeling lonely and left alone. So there is a very important aspect of social connection by enabling employees to connect more through tools like video conferencing, through collaboration tools like Teams and others. And you need to accentuate this positive feedback. So whenever you have an employee that is doing a good job, a manager responsibility is go to tell everyone that this guy is, to greet him and to tell him that he's doing a great job. And by this, he will be, first of all, recognizing the work of this person. And on the other side, he will be setting an example for other people to follow, especially now, in fact, in remote working. People don't know how they are measured, what's the outcome. So by setting this example, by accentuating the positive feedback around what a certain employee is doing, the manager would be capable to set example for everyone. And I would quote someone over here in this saying that the manager role isn't just to deliver the message. He is the message by himself. As people in this tough situations will look up to their manager, will see how they are reacting in such circumstances. And we don't need to lie to our people over here. Leadership has been for a long time characterized by being a visionary, by having a great vision. However, at those tough times, we also need to be realistic, to transfer the right picture in front of the employees and to enable them to go through those tough times. And on the last part, we have the R, which is all about reskilling, revamping your team by pushing more of the digital workforce tools to them, enabling them to use them, and also helping them learn, in fact, through different online platforms about their teams, about their skills, and to enhance on them. So near, very simple, normalize work around objectives, enable employees to connect more, accentuate the positivity in general, and revamping the team. In fact, there are plenty of models that companies can follow for supporting remote work teams, and those are from best practices. The first one is the center of expertise, and when we talk about a center of expertise, I'm not just putting it from a geography perspective. We can have different departments. We can have specialty under those departments that people can go and ask if they need some questions, and communicating this to the rest of the company is very essential. We can also build this follow the sun model, especially nowadays that people aren't limiting themselves by work from 9 to 5 or 8 till 6, depending on where you work, or 8 to 2. People have flexible working hours, and it's very essential that they have the support around the clock. In fact, around the 24 hours and 7 days a week. And teams will, as we said, in fact, there was a study saying that 70% or 67% of what managers used to do can now be done in an automated system using technology. So the role of a manager, as we said, is to make sure that he enables his team to self-organize themselves, to come up with idea. We are going to see more and more of this flat hierarchy going into the picture, and leaders will be born from the role that they do to help each other. On a different perspective, we have also those proven factors for enabling remote work. We need to determine how much of our work can be done remotely in the beginning. I know that nowadays, in fact, we are doing everything, but like there are still some functions that can still be done from the house. And going forward, we need to see if those functions can continue to run remotely. And I'm sure that you have all read different companies. In fact, especially in the tech sector, Twitter was one of the biggest innovators over there by announcing that they would allow their employees to work remotely forever. So this model is gonna stay. And also at Dell Technologies, we are doing a sort of an assessment of our workforce to see which ones are gonna continue to work remotely, which functions will still be needed to go and get access to the site. So we need remote work is gonna, let's say, double or triple in the coming years. In fact, due to COVID-19, and we need to get used to this model and get the best out of it. As we have said, we don't need to limit our employees to their work based on the function that we have defined prior to the remote work, let's say, wave. As employees will be interacting with different people in their teams, they will be talking with different functions, and the limitations of or the boundaries defining their roles will be broken. So we need to be more flexible in this perspective. We need to make sure that we are helping, supporting people wherever they are, and we need to establish the outcome-based performance. It's not we are living, in fact, in the 21st centuries nowadays. In fact, we're not looking at people from how good they are in terms of getting to their seat, maybe in front of the laptop at 9 a.m. and leaving at 2. This is not the right measure. You need to measure your people by their outcomes, by the stuff that they do inside their work. And most importantly, we are going to see more and more the design thinking and the innovation ideas coming into perspective. And this would be the right way to judge our employees, by how innovative they are, by how helpful they are to others. And a very important point over here is having empathy with others. That's the key to success, especially in those tough times. Also, a key role for the manager, as we said, is to keep sending this positive outcome, this positive feedback to his employees, helping them, supporting them, not only from a work perspective, from a emotional perspective. Plenty of those people have a lot of duties. They are wearing different hats. The father of the family, he needs to go and educate his child. He needs to go and maybe visit some elderly over there. So, like, people need to be flexible in this perspective to accept that it's not only about work. It's all about the social collaboration. In fact, especially in COVID-19 time. What we are seeing, and we have touched base on it with the idea of Twitter coming into the picture and asking their employees to go and work remotely forever. Those employers are looking at the idea of reducing real estate expenses. Employees, based in the past, we used to think that if you work remotely, you aren't productive. You will not be capable to achieve your numbers. I'm sure that everyone in the call agrees nowadays that we are working much more than what we used to do in the office days. So the productivity has increased. We can increase also the employee retention, as employees will be favoring this model, especially after they have tried it and they have seen that it's successful. Also, from this perspective, the remote work concept will help minimize the time to commute. So it will give you more time to spend with your families, with doing your own activities, instead of spending like 1 hour or 2 hours commuting to work. You will gain this time, but it also depends on how you manage it, because plenty of people as well are facing burnout nowadays, in fact, and they cannot disconnect from their laptop. And so there are plenty of advantages. And as we said, this model is gonna stay and is gonna grow in the coming years. Plenty of functions are gonna go through this. As we said, productivity, even those studies are prior to COVID-19 for some companies that have already established this model. So for example, BT, Best Buy, and Dow, they have seen that their employees who are working remotely are 35 and 40% more productive. So Another aspect of this, and I don't want to limit it to the COVID-19 phase, because this is something that is out of the ordinary. Usually, people when they work remotely, they feel less stressed. So, and the studies have shown that 80% of the remote workers have shown and have highlighted that they are less stressed than going to the office. So now we're gonna take your opinion about the top challenges that you are facing when working remotely. We have seen that plenty of people they are working too much. They don't know how to prioritize. There are plenty of interruptions. They are feeling lonely. Technology failures, keeping healthy and keeping motivated. So I appreciate if you can share your feedback over here. I think some people, they are struggling with the idea of getting the poll. So we have had so many people on working too much and on prioritizing what you do. Cool. So we're gonna end the poll. I think by the stuff that I'm seeing, in fact, working too much is winning. So I consider A as working too much, and this is true. In fact, we are seeing like based on the studies that the main downside of remote work is burnout and loneliness, which aligns with what you have said in the poll. So working too much will cause burnout, and typically people nowadays, since they are plenty of them are new to this experience, they don't know how to set the limits and the boundaries between office and home, especially that both of them are coming together. And this will impact not only let's say yourself or your health, it will impact your happiness, your satisfaction, and it might lead to a sort of leaving the company and not being able to perform as required. So there's higher turnover when you start witnessing those stuff. And by the end of this presentation, we're gonna see what are the tips and best practices that you can apply in your work to make sure that you are avoiding this sort of burnout and loneliness. So another aspect is new employees. I understand that nowadays we are living in this economic, let's say, difficulties, but companies will start hiring again. We have started seeing some countries starting to open. So we are going to see new hires coming. And if we want those people to come and integrate in our team, especially when they join recently, we need to establish the right culture. We need to establish a culture of help, of support, of reaching to their peers, of communicating with them. And we have the tools. Technology has always been a key enabler of good communication, of putting people together. Use video conferencing, use the Teams collaboration, and by default, you have seen, in fact, how much, in fact, tools like Zoom and Teams and others, in fact, have flourished during the COVID-19, because by default, as humans, we are social creatures. We like to communicate. We like to build those types of connections and relationships. And even if we cannot at the time being do it, to do those connections, we need to leverage every communication tool that we have in order to be capable to get to this goal. Another concept is the concept of digital toxification. And as a technologist, I never thought that I would be talking about advising people to leave their laptops, to leave their mobile phones for a short time of the day, for sure. But for example, Gartner, even before this event, they predicted that in 2023, which is 3 years from now, 8 out of 10 organizations will offer digital detoxification. What we are seeing currently is not a lack of, or like not a lack of information or lack of sources of data. We are bombarded. We are seeing an abundance of resources and stuff coming to us. So in this concept, people need to start doing this digital detoxification. It's very important that you start taking practices that you turn off your laptop when you finish your work, and then maybe sometimes putting, like some people, they turn off their laptop, they put it in their bag, and the next day they come and they unpack it. Even from a psychology perspective, this is very important because it will help you disconnect. Otherwise, and we have seen it personally as well, that like in the first few days, we haven't stopped working. We have had this continuity between work and home, and we weren't capable to switch. So it's very important to maintain your mental health, to maintain yourself healthy and functional and even productive, because like if you keep working and if you keep getting digitally toxified, you'll not be capable to perform in the right way. As I said, due to technology, and technology has throughout history helped us to evolve. And in this time, if you have seen in comparison to previous pandemics, the amount of first people that have unfortunately passed away is still very minimal in comparison to the Black Death that we have heard about in Spain, like 600 years ago, or the Spanish flu in the beginning of this century. So technology has helped not only from establishing the communication, but also from a digital healthcare perspective to monitor and to contain the situation through its different sectors, 5G, edge, AI, machine learning, name it. We have used the power that we have in order to be capable to overcome the limits of this pandemic. And thanks God, we are doing a great job over here till now. In some countries, sometimes it has gone out of hands, but overall, globally, if we look at it, things have started to stabilize and people are going back to their life again. So technology from this perspective has been a key enabler. It will continue to be, and we can leverage this pandemic as an opportunity to accelerate the digital transformation, to change some practices that we have been used to since 300 or 400 years, and make sure that we get the best out of it. So in every problem there is an opportunity, and we need to look at the bright side of the thing. So to go back to our subject, there are things that are by default nowadays. They need to be provided by the employer, like the laptops, the devices that you connect to. And nowadays, especially after we have gone through the short time response, people need to think about security and policies and governance, and how much my environment, my data that is being accessed by different users is secure. How can I build a sort of a mobile data management system? Because some people are still using their personal laptops. How can I put, like, let's say, this sort of on the same device, an image that is being connected to my work, and another image that I can use personally, and how can I secure them? And there are plenty of solutions in the market and this from Dell Technologies or others. Collaboration tools. Everyone needs to go and learn about not only using the features of Zoom and Teams in terms of establishing audio calls, but looking at whiteboarding, annotating, making sure that as much as possible to create this sort of social interaction. Network access is always key, and sometimes, in fact, we are struggling with this, making sure that our people at the house, in fact, they don't overflood the network, especially when we are working and doing webinars and video conferencing, and making sure that we have technical support. Also, what we have seen in this pandemic, and Satya Nadella, the head of Microsoft, has written a book a few years back about how he has changed, in fact, the company from being based on Microsoft Office licenses to being based more on collaboration, cloud, and all this stuff. And this strategy from Microsoft has known a huge success, especially with Teams. In fact, the number of users has tripled. In fact, in few days. So we are gonna start seeing, in fact, a change in the amount of tools, in fact, and the number of tools that we are using. So email, web conferencing, instant messaging, local drives are gonna switch to work stream collaboration, content creation. Even emails are gonna be used less and less. So the stuff that we are using currently, in fact, in terms of sending emails, can be done through Teams, through a chat, even using WhatsApp. Some managers, they go and they complain about their employees being very active on social media, and being, let's say, they are using WhatsApp a lot, they are using Facebook, messengers, etc. But this is very important, especially in our times. The idea of WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and all those tools, it will help you create those like side chats that we used to have in the office. So not everything needs to be formal through an invite, a calendar invite, a virtual meeting. You can ask a favor, or you can reach out to your colleague through the tools without the need to go and schedule a meeting and go through it. Even like phone calls are very effective, and checking on people is very critical in this time. So to finalize on the technology part, we have started, as we said, a shortwave response, which is laptop, VPN, access to the site. We need to make sure that what we are doing now is that we have the right device, especially for those people that have higher demand in terms of CPU and memory. We need to make sure that our environment is secure through virtual application, virtual desktop infrastructure, and being capable to switch between work and personal without affecting the policies of the data over there. Security, you need to make sure that your environment is secure. And like, even though with the times of pandemic, in fact, there are plenty of hackers that benefit from this time to send emails to their employer, to some employees, to leverage the data that they're having. So security is a big thing over there. And when we think about security, we need to think from a holistic perspective. It's not just the firewall that you have in your data center. It's a holistic approach that goes to the end user, to the application system. So you need to put this level of security at every level. And by default, when we used to talk about security, we used to think about IPS, IDS, firewall. Let me put another device. This model has, let's say, has shown that it has failed in a certain way. So that's why people nowadays are thinking about integrating security at every level. And if you are watching the trends, in fact, like the VMware acquisition of Carbon Black a few months back comes into this perspective from ensuring a sort of an end-to-end security. So what we're gonna talk about now is like 12 skills that we think at Dell Technologies will help you in managing this remote work perspective based on the experience that we have. So we're gonna provide 4 tool set, 4 skill set, and 4 mindset. So this method is called the 4 cube, and it's about 12 methods. So from a tool set perspective, leverage the tool that you have to their extent. Leverage video conferencing. When you have a meeting, open your cameras, make sure that other people see you so you can interact with them in a better way. Messaging is very important. As we said, like, it will help you grant this side chat part of the discussion. Try, from a space perspective, try to have a sort of a table and a chair in order to work. Don't sit on a bed or on the couch, because this would give you like this psychological effect that, okay, if I have my table, I have my chair, this is like I'm going to work, I'm commuting to work. And when I finish, I will close my laptop and I will leave my desk, or I'll leave my table and go and continue my home life. Connectivity, and we talked about it. Over here in UAE, we are blessed that we don't have that much of problems in terms of bandwidth, but in other countries we have they have those issues. from a skill set perspective, and this is very important, and this is the part that we need to focus on. Those seems to be also relevant to what we used to do in our office, on our office work before the remote work. But nowadays they are more important because plenty of people are bombarding us with requests. So prioritizing is key. And what you need to do, for example, on the beginning of the week, you need to go and set, okay, I'm gonna work on those priorities. And I'm gonna even book my calendars in a certain way to do this work. Planning is very important. And when I talk about planning, I'm not talking about the work planning alone. So put breaks in your calendar. In the first week after we had COVID-19, like you go and you look at everyone's calendar and it's fully booked, like back-to-back meetings. And usually people, since they are used to this 1 hour meeting, everyone would book 1 hour meeting, even if the meeting would require 15 minutes. So we need to plan better. We need to make sure that we respect other people's times. And a very important thing over here, don't do continuous meeting. Put breaks in between one meeting and another, even if it's say 15 minutes, just to go have a walk, because your brain to function needs water, needs food, and needs oxygen. And if you're sitting the whole day, there is a study that says, in fact, that your body would consume 20% less oxygen. So you will be less productive in this perspective. So we need to plan things correctly. We need to plan the time for the family. We need to plan the time for our kids as well. And there is no harm if you are having your children in the house and you're doing this role of parental teaching, to book a slot for, like, I'm going to have, let's say, this math lesson with my child, and other people and your colleagues should respect it, because we are all living in this. The second perspective is focus. And when you are always online and people are seeing you either through Skype or Teams or Zoom, etc., you need to signal to them that, okay, I'm busy. And in the normal office days, when people used to go to their rooms and they are working, people tend not to disturb them. However, nowadays, in fact, you need to signal this in a virtual way. So put do not disturb those busy signals on your laptops, and in your house just put some signals related to like do not disturb at the moment. The final part is very important as well. It's about maintaining your health, and here we need to go and exercise as much as we can. We need to take care of our health, mental health, and physical health. So it's good to book, let's say, 30 minutes or 1 hour on a daily basis to make sure that that we are exercising. From a mindset perspective, we need to understand that we're not alone in this, and everyone is collaborating. And the good thing about what's happening is that when you reach out to people nowadays, in fact, they are more empathetic and they are more looking to help you and support you in your problems. When you try to go to work, try to wear clothes that are suitable. So don't stay on in your pajamas for the full day. This would help you, in fact, have this mindset of I'm going to work, and also it has a very positive influence on your day. By all measures, you can achieve more when you are working remotely, because you are saving on the times to commute, you are not being interrupted by other colleagues. And that has been a fact nowadays. All the companies have agreed that working remotely, that has been seen as a concept of less productivity, is being more productive. And that's why they are applying it. At the end, give to get. So if you want support from people, if you want them to help you, you need to start by this practice to give, to offer your support, and for sure others will come and they will return the favor. So these are the 12 skill set that you can apply on a day by day basis. It's easier said than done, but like if you start doing those practices, planning and focusing and prioritizing and creating this space for you to work, we believe that this is gonna help you in your environment. So the last poll before our final slides, we want to see if you think that remote working is going to stay as the new norm. I appreciate if you can share with us your thoughts on this. So from the majority of answers in the chat and the polling, we are saying that yes, this is gonna be the new norm. And in fact, what I want to share with you is that in a recent article, in fact, that has been published in the Times, people are imagining the future of work as this office where you have holograms. So there is a company called Signal that does this stuff. In fact, so they are trying to make sure that that they create holograms in order to give the people this social experience. So we are going to go in remote work. There are technologies like artificial intelligence, virtual reality that will help us, and augmented reality that will help us do such a work. And even the office that we used to know is going to change. And in fact, what I can say is that in the past, there was an article in the Financial Times. It's called "The Rise and Fall of the Office." So first of all, it told me that the office was invented 300 years ago, around 1700, and we have been using this model for almost 300 years. Now things are changing. The collaboration between the white collar people is not going to be, in fact, the office or the office environment. Is going to be more, in fact, into the screen. So based on your feedback as well, I can see that we are heading towards this environment. At the end, I would like to share with you, in fact, few books around digital transformation and digital age. So the first one is called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. This is a book that is written by Klaus Schwab, الثورة الصناعية الرابعة. And this is very interesting because it has predicted that we are changing not only the way that we work, but we're not only changing technologies, but also we are changing lifestyles, we are changing economy, we are changing the way that we work, even freelancing and all those concepts that we have started seeing. Another interesting book, in fact, for those digital strategists and digital futurists is Life 3.0. This is a book. It's called. It's written by Max Tegmark, and it predicts that we are gonna see the Life 3.0. So Life 1.0 is the bacteria life. Life 2.0 is like the evolution of the human beings, and Life 3.0 is the area where we're gonna see, in fact, cyborgs and machines coming together. It's a very interesting book. And the last one, it's an old classic one. It's Good to Great. And I have my last slide about what I have learned personally in this book, which is the Stockdale paradox. So Mr. James Stockdale was an admiral in the US Army, and his plane got shot in the 1965, in fact, by the Vietnamese. And he was captured for around 8 years. And when Jim Collins, the writer of Good to Great, went and see Mr. Stockdale, he asked him what made him survive. And his answer was very simple. I have never wavered my faith of being able to reach the end, in fact, or that I would prevail in the end. And funny enough, he asked him, who are the ones who didn't survive? And his answer was the optimist. So, and Jim was surprised with such a question because he believed like retaining the faith, in fact, in prevailing at the end needs optimism. And Stockdale said like the optimists were those people that were thinking that they're gonna get out by Christmas, and Christmas would come and they're not out, and Easter and Thanksgiving, and those people have died of a broken heart. So when you are facing this sort of uncertainty, of difficulty, of calamity, if we can say, you should never confuse the fact of retaining faith that you will prevail at the end with the basic or with the behavior of confronting the most brutal facts of your current reality. We need to make sure that this is gonna end, but we need to live the reality, and we need to leverage the best of the tools that we are currently having. And to be frank, we are blessed with technology. We are blessed with the society that we are living in, and at the end we will prevail, and we will get back to our normal life with new technologies, new concepts, and remote working at its best practices is gonna evolve. For that, I finished my presentation. I would like to thank you for your time, and we can open it for questions and answers.
So we've had a few questions come into the panel, Faris. The first one is from Abdul Rahman. He says that how much do you think culture plays a role in remote working?
Yeah, sure. So Abdurrahman, culture is a very important factor, in fact, in building organization and making sure that we push the right culture. So given on this book, Good to Great, you have great people in your team. It's just about how you push this culture of trust. So when you trust people, they will give their best. And in this perspective, once we build the right culture, once we empower people, once this manager, the role of a manager that we used to think about as managing processes and managing tools, is gonna change to a coach and helping people achieve their best. This is when we are gonna start seeing the best of our people. Sure, culture is very important, if not the most important thing in this transformation. Technology is a tool, but like I totally agree with you, culture is the main thing.
And then we have another question from Zainab. She says that how to measure employees' productivity. Is measuring productivity something that's subjective or objective?
Sure. It depends on. It's a very interesting question. It depends on the KPIs that you set. So usually companies they have this system of KPI that they try to measure their employees by checking boxes, in fact, on their business objectives, or if they have done everything. But there's always this subjective part about the attitude of the employees, about how they are learning, how they are interacting with their colleagues. You could be the best in terms of maybe like achieving great results, but like if you're not helping others, if you're not supporting your system, this might raise questions. So it's very important, Zainab, that today, in fact, we need also to establish those productivity measurement in a way that they take care of the collaboration between people. It's not about individuals. It's also about how you are supporting each other, so you contribute to the benefit of the company.
Awesome. And then we have one last question from Mohammed. He says that what precautions and changes to the current processes of business do you think would be updated?
It depends on an industry by industry basis, in fact, Muhammad. So we are gonna see changes in the roles of people, and as we said, in fact, based on the studies, if from a management perspective, people would do less the micromanagement part. They need to start focusing on coaching. We need to simplify as much as possible the operations that are related to our work. And there is a very interesting book in this field. It's called The Goal, and it talks about like measuring efficiency by making people working to their extreme will end up not being efficient, because sometimes you will create a lot of activity without a measurable outcome. So we need as much as possible to simplify our messages to make sure that all the people understand what we are talking about. They understand the vision, they understand the goal for which we are like the team or the company is going towards. and make sure that they rely on collaboration. I believe collaboration is one of the most important factors that companies need to look at when it comes to remote working, and establishing this culture of empathy, collaboration.
All right, and then we have the last minute to go, and one more question, or two more questions. Okay, so how much, Abdurrahman is asking, how much do you think the remote work is going to influence the hiring process of individuals and the employment contract?
Well, the processes need to change, and in this book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, and even in the concept of outsourcing and offshoring, if we keep going through this way, you will see more of a rise of freelancers and contractors in this perspective, where everyone is going to become a sort of entrepreneur offering his service. It depends on how much we are advanced in this journey. But what I can see is that people will be, let's say, compensated based on their contribution. Sometimes we could see a change of this, like long-term contracts to a sort of a short-term contracts, and we have started seeing this long time back, in fact, with the concept of outsourcing and offshoring. It depends on how long this is going to continue. It might also impact the way that cities are functioning in this perspective, but for sure we need to change the way that we are doing the hiring. It's not based anymore on the location. It's gonna be more on the skills that you have and the capabilities that you offer. So companies have this wider pool to choose from.
Perfect. And we're a little over time, but do you think we're good for one more question?
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take one more question and then we'll close. Yes.
All right. So Dr. Hazim asks, do you think the demand on cloud technology will raise as remote work rises?
Yes, Dr. Hazim. In fact, if recently Gartner has published a report where it has already risen, like the cloud by itself, by its architecture, and the idea of renting a certain thing has been very beneficial, in fact, for plenty of organization in the short-term period. However, on the long run, from a cloud technology perspective, we need to see how much beneficial it is for people to stay on the cloud. Is it more efficient? Do you need to, will you be paying more money using cloud services? Because there is always a premium that you pay when you are renting a car. And I always give this example of car rental when I talk about cloud. It depends on your utilization. It depends on the bandwidth that you use. And most importantly, there are governance and compliance tools that need to be taken into consideration. Availability of the data. So cloud has been, in fact, one of the greatest solutions that we have currently seen, in fact, for replying to COVID-19, especially on the short run. However, on the long run, there could be like a sort of people going back, in fact, and making this balance between public cloud and private cloud. From our perspective, we have this concept of multi-cloud, where like you will be capable to use the cloud based on your needs. And sorry if I got more time, but like this is a very interesting subject. Nowadays, people are working on this multi-cloud platform that can talk, for example, to Azure, to AWS, to your private data center. So this is the model that we are going to see. In fact, not cloud as an operating model, not cloud, as a destination, but as a totally operating model. Cool. So I think we have answered all the questions. I would like to thank you for your time, and I apologize for getting a little bit extra. I hope this session was beneficial for you, and thanks a lot for your time.